Hello students, as I earlier told you that in paper first, poetry and drama, we have three sections A, B and C. As we have completed section A and B, now we will start section C that that consists two plays. One is Eugene O'Neill's Havre Ape and another is Girish Kannad's Tughlaq. So we will start with Eugene O'Neill's introduction. Eugene Gladstone O'Neill was born on 16th October 1888 in New York. He died in November 1953 in Boston, Massachusetts. Foremost American dramatist and winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1936. His masterpiece, Long Day's Journey into Night, produced posthumously in 1956, is at the apex of a long string of great plays, including Beyond the Horizon, 1920, Anna Christie, 1922, Strange Interlude, 1928, Our Wilderness in 1933, and The Iceman Comet in 1946. O'Neill was born into the theatre. His father, James O'Neill, was a successful touring actor. Eugene, who was born in a hotel, spent his early childhood in hotel rooms, on trains, and backstage. O'Neill was educated at boarding school Mount St. Vincent in the Bronx and Bent Academy in Stamford, Connecticut. His summers were spent at the family's only permanent home, a modest house overlooking the Thames River in New London, Connecticut. He attended Princeton University for 1 year, after which he left school to begin what he later regarded as his real education and life experience. The next 6 years were nearly ended his life. He shipped to sea, lived a derelict existence on the waterfronts of Buenos Aires, Liverpool, and New York City. Submerged himself in alcohol and attempted suicide. Recovering briefly at the age of 24, he held a job for a few months as a reporter and contributed to the poetry column of the New London Telegraph, but soon came down with tuberculosis. Confined to the Gaylord Farm Sanitarium in Wallingford, Connecticut, for 6 months. After that, he began to write plays. A theatre critic persuaded his father to send him to Harvard to study with George Pierce Baker in his famous playwriting course. Although what O'Neill produced during that year owed little to Baker's academic instruction, the chance to work steadily at writing set him firmly on a chosen path. O'Neill's first appearance as a playwright came in the summer of 1916 in the quiet fishing village of Provincetown, Massachusetts, where a group of young writers and painters had launched an experimental theatre. In their tiny ramshackle playhouse on a wharf, they produced his one-act sea play Bounties for Cardiff. The talent inherent in the play was immediately evident to the group which that fall formed the Playwrights Theatre in Greenwich Village. The first bill on November 3, 1916 included Bound East for Cardiff, O'Neill's New York debut. Although he was only one of several writers whose plays were produced by the Playwrights Theatre. His contribution within the next few years made the group's reputation. Between 1916 and 1920, the group produced all of O'Neill's one-act sea plays along with a number of his lesser efforts. By the time his first full-length play, Beyond the Horizon, was produced on Broadway, February 2, 1920, at the Morisco Theatre, the young playwright already had a small reputation. Beyond the Horizon impressed the critics with its tragic realism, won for O'Neill's the first of 4 Pulitzer Prizes in drama. Others were for Anna Christie, Strange Interlude, and Long Day's Journey into Night, and brought him to the attention of a wider theatre public. For the next 20 years, his reputation grew steadily, both in the United States and abroad. After Shakespeare and Shaw, O'Neill's became the most widely translated and produced dramatist. O'Neill's capacity for the commitment to work was staggering. Between 1920s and 1943, he completed 20 long plays, several of them double and triple length, and a number of shorter ones. He wrote and rewrote many of his manuscripts half a dozen times before he was satisfied, and he filled shelves of notebooks with research notes, outlines, play ideas, and other memoranda. His most distinguished short play include the four early sea plays, which were written between 1930 and 1917 and produced in 1924 under the overall title S.S. Glenshire. The Emperor Jones about the disintegration of a Pullman porter turned tropical island dictator, and the Hairy Ape about the disintegration of a displaced steamship coal stoker. O'Neill's plays were written from an intensely personal point of view, deriving directly from the scarring effects of his family's tragic relationship. His mother and father who loved and tormented each other, his older brother who loved and corrupted him and died of alcoholism in middle age, and O'Neill's himself, caught and torn between love for and race. At all three, O'Neill's innovative writing continued with strange interlude. This play was revolutionary in style and length when first produced. It opened in late afternoon, broke for a dinner intermission, and ended at the conventional hour. Techniques new to the modern theatre included spoken asides or soliloquies to express the character's hidden thoughts. The play is the saga of every woman who ritualistically acts out her roles as daughter, wife, mistress, mother, and platonic friend. Although it was innovative and startling in 1928, its obvious Freudian overtones have rapidly dated the work. One of Neil's enduring masterpieces, Morning Becomes Electra, represents the playwright's most complete use of Greek forms, themes, and characters. Based on the Ocetia trilogy by Aeschylus, it was itself three plays in one to give the story contemporary credibility. O'Neill set the play in the New England of the Civil War period, yet he retained the forms and the conflict of the Greek characters. The heroic leader returning from war, his adulterous wife who murders him, his jealous, repressed daughter who avenges him through the murder of her mother, and his weak, incestuous son who is goaded by his sister first to matricide and then to suicide. Following a long succession of tragic vision, O'Neill's only comedy, Our Wilderness, appeared on Broadway in 1933. Written in a light-hearted, nostalgic mood, the work was inspired in part by the playwright's mischievous desire to demonstrate that he could portray the comic as well as the tragic side of life. Significantly, the play is set in the same place and period, small New England town in the early 1900s, as his later tragic masterpiece, Long Day's Journey into Night. Dealing with the growing pains of a sensitive adolescent boy, Our Wilderness was characterized by O'Neill as the other side of the coin, meaning that it represented his fantasy of what his own youth might have been, rather than what he believed it to have been, as dramatized later in Long Day's Journey into Night. The Iceman Comet, the most complex and perhaps the finest of the O'Neill's tragedies, followed in 1939. Although it did not appear on Broadway until 1946, less with subtle religious symbolism, the play is a study of man's need to cling to his hope for a better life, even if he must delude himself to do so. Even in his last writings, O'Neill's youth continued to absorb his attention. The posthumous production of Long Day's Journey into Night brought to light an agonizingly autobiographical play, one of O'Neill's greatest. It is straightforward in style but shattering in its depiction of the agonized relationship between father and mother and two sons, spanning one day in the life of a family. The play strips away layer after layer from each of the four central figures, revealing the mother as a defeated drug addict, the father as a man frustrated in his career and failed as a husband and a father, the older son as a bitter alcoholic, and the younger son as a tubercle, disillusioned youth with only the slenderest chance for physical and spiritual survival. Until some years after his death in 1953, O'Neill, although respected in the United States, was more highly regarded abroad. Sweden, in particular, always held him in high esteem, partly because of his publicly acknowledged debt to the influence of the Swedish playwright August Strindberg, whose tragic themes often echo in O'Neill's plays. In 1936, the Swedish Academy gave O'Neill the Nobel Prize for Literature. The first time he awarded had been conferred on an American playwright. O'Neill's most ambitious project for the theatre was that he never completed. In the late 1930s, he conceived of a cycle of 11 plays to be performed on 11 consecutive nights, tracing the lives of an American family from the early 1800s to modern times. He wrote scenarios and outlines for several of the plays and drafts of others, but completed only one in the cycle, A Touch of the Poet, before a crippling illness ended his ability to hold a pencil. An unfinished rough draft of another of the cycle plays. More Stately Mansion was published in 1964 and produced 3 years later on Broadway in spite of written instruction left by O'Neill that the incomplete manuscript be destroyed after his death. O'Neill's final years were spent in grim frustration. Unable to work, he longed for his death and sat waiting for it in Boston Hotel, seeing no one except his doctor, a nurse, and his third wife, Carlotta Monterey. O'Neill died as broken and tragic a figure as any he had created for the stage. The Hairy Ape drama in 8 scenes by Eugene O'Neill, produced in 1922 and published the following year. It is considered one of the prime achievements of Expressionism on stage. O'Neill's capacity for and commitment to work was staggering. Between 1920 and 1943, he completed 20 long plays, several of them double and triple length, and a number of short ones. He wrote and rewrote many of his manuscripts half a dozen times before he was satisfied, and he filled shelves or notebooks with research notes, outlines, play ideas, and other memoranda. His most distinguished short plays include the 4 early sea plays, Bounties for Cardiff in the John the Longvoice Home and The Moon of the Caribbees, which was written between 1913 and 1917 and produced in 1924 under the overall title SS Glacial. The Emperor Jones, about the disintegration of a Pullman porter turned tropical island dictator. The Hairy Ape, about the disintegration of a displaced steamship coal stoker. So, in the next class, we will discuss about the play Hairy Ape. We will discuss the outline of the play. Thank you.